Welcome. Rose here from Pain Free Freedom. I am super excited that you're here. And today we are going to get into anxiety, right? A lot of people that are here, maybe you're dealing with pain, maybe you're dealing with anxiety, maybe you're dealing with both. And one of the most common roots of what can contribute to priming your nervous system for that anxiety and that pain is that feeling of unsafety, right? That anxiety over time. So a lot of people that I work with, they have been dealing with anxiety maybe for a long time, maybe since childhood, or maybe since a big health scare. And what can happen is because your brain processes both physical and emotional pain in the same place, if you have that history of anxiety, it puts you at an increased risk, if you will, for developing chronic pain later on, as well as a whole host of other symptoms. So I talk about pain, but it's more than just pain. It is pain, anxiety, unexplained GI issues, fatigue. Basically, when your nervous system is stuck in that dysregulated state, it can show up as a bunch of different things in your nervous system. So I'd love this to be super interactive. Feel free to toss any questions, thoughts down in the comments, and I will make sure that I get every question answered. So what's happening here? What is anxiety? So when we talk about anxiety, sometimes it has kind of a stigma to it. But what anxiety really is when we are finding ourselves worst case scenario planning, right? We're in these negative thought loops where all of a sudden our brain is like, what if this happens? What if this happens? Sometimes we find ourselves like playing out arguments in our head, trying to figure out, well, if they say this, then what I'm going to say, or if this happens. And it's almost like you're taking a mental field trip to a hell version of a future, right? And so what we need to do is really to recognize in those moments that our thoughts are not us, right? We are not just thoughts. We're actually part of this cohesive mind body. And when we're experiencing anxiety, it can feel like our thoughts are kind of running away from us. So if you have a history of anxiety and you're also dealing with pain, I want you to start looking at these as all part of the same thing. These are all part of the pain cycle, all part of that mind-body experience, where basically your brain and nervous system are stuck in this place of survival, stuck in this feeling of unsafety, and that can show up as fear, it can show up as anxiety, it can show up as pain. So a lot of people have this background of anxiety. Maybe some of this was learned in early childhood, and maybe some of us had health scares along the way where it kind of proved to our brain that we actually aren't safe. I was actually speaking to someone earlier, and she was sort of discounting this feeling, like, okay, she had dealt with trauma, dealt with anxiety, is now dealing with pain as well. And she was like, yeah, it doesn't make sense. Like, why would my brain be in this place of telling me it's unsafe when she had just shared all of these different things that made her brain think, hey, it is really unsafe here. So for some of us, we had childhood trauma. For some of us, we had a childhood that wasn't that great, but could have been worse. For others, our childhood was fine. And then something happened, right? And that balance of thinking like, hey, I'm safe, went to thinking, hey, I'm not safe. And that's really where that anxiety comes in. So just know the same way that your brain and nervous system learn that, right? They're always learning. Your brain is always adapting. How safe am I in this moment? It can always unlearn those things. So as we're talking about coming out of the pain cycle, coming out of the anxiety, coming out of the fatigue, coming out of the GI issues, however your body is showing up with these symptoms, it's less about like, how do I make the pain go away? Like, how do I make the anxiety go away? And it's more this journey of what do I need to change in my thoughts and my feelings and my emotions that I can go from this place of feeling subconsciously like, hey, I'm unsafe. I am under attack potentially, or there might be dangers around, and my brain is telling me everything is dangerous, to going to a place where you actually feel grounded in yourself. So breaking free from pain, it's not like this obstacle that we overcome. Breaking free from anxiety, we're not going to conquer it. It's coming into this relationship with yourself again. Because what happens when we're in anxiety or in pain is we pull up into this place of the brain. We pull up into this place of the mind. This is a trauma response, right? Where we're thinking. We're trying to anticipate what could happen, anything that could go wrong so we can prevent it, which makes us feel safe. But really, it makes us feel more and more unsafe. Because the way that the brain uses predictive coding, in any moment, your brain is pulling on patterns throughout your life, right? So think about driving a car, for example. The first time you drove a car, you're paying attention to the mirrors and the gas and the pedals, and you're trying to figure it out. And then over time, your brain just learned how to drive a car. And so it has a file for driving a car. So the same way that your brain learned that, it has also learned this anxiety and pain, right? And so your brain is always searching for those things. This is where that hypervigilance comes in. And whether it's anxiety or pain, and oftentimes anxiety can then flip into pain, turn into pain later on with enough stress. What's happening here is ultimately you are stuck in an overactive protective response. Your brain is trying to protect you, even though now you're feeling like, hey, I don't need that protection. This is actually hurting me. And then we get into this place of feeling like we are combating our thoughts, right? We're combating our thoughts, we're combating our feelings, we're combating what's happening in our body, the sensations in our body, we're trying to fix them, we're frustrated that they're not going away. With anxiety, same thing. We have these thoughts where we're like, shit, I shouldn't be thinking this. This is not a good thought to have. And then we start beating ourselves up because we're frustrated at ourselves that we are not doing, thinking what we're supposed to be thinking. Here's the thing. Number one, thoughts are just opinions from your brain at each moment, right? Your thoughts are not always true. I'm sure if you ask yourself right now, what is something that I used to 100% believe or 100% think or a preference I had that has completely changed? It doesn't have to be big. It can be like, I used to hate olives. I like olives now, right? So you can share in the chat, what are some of those things, some of those changes that you've seen in your life? And as you realize how much power you have to be able to change those thoughts, this will really give you that confidence to know, I have the power to come out of this cycle of anxiety, to come out of this cycle of pain. Because ultimately, what's happened here is my brain and nervous system have learned that I'm so unsafe, whether that root is stuck emotional pain, whether that root is you experienced an emotional or a physical trauma and your brain has gotten stuck in this loop. The same way that your brain has gotten stuck here, has learned this, you can shift your brain and your nervous system, unlearn those pathways, and actually physiologically lay new neural pathways down in your brain and activate those old pain-free pathways. Because right now, when you are stuck in anxiety, when you are stuck in pain, it is like your brain has a super highway to pain, danger, hypervigilance, trying to figure out what's wrong and anticipate what's wrong, and a dirt highway, a dirt back road to that feeling of connection, that place in your nervous system that is rest and digest, that feeling like, okay, things are okay, I'm present in this moment. And when you're so used to this place of feeling anxiety, feeling pain, maybe for you, there's also a lot of muscle tension, and we can start to get stuck in this anxiety of like, what if this is just me, right? What if I am just this way? And I'm here to tell you that is not true. All of the thoughts that you have are all changeable. And so stepping into your power when you feel a thought come up, maybe it's about pain, maybe it's about anxiety, maybe it's jealousy, maybe it's frustration, maybe it's fear, whatever it is, just allowing yourself to observe that thought and realizing, hey, I am not that thought. That is not me. This is just a thought that is passing through. And as you make this tiny shift, it starts to decrease the power that the anxiety and the pain have. It actually starts to decrease the fear. And keep in mind, anxiety and pain, they are a danger response in the brain. So as you decrease the fear, so too will you decrease the symptoms. And when you marry this, couple this with this knowledge that my body is not broken. Okay, my brain and nervous system are in this place of overreacting, but me, myself, my body is okay. Then you start shifting the brain from this place of feeling on par unsafe to actually feeling safe again. And this is one of the key elements to be able to break free from that pain cycle and ultimately get back to feeling like yourself, right? Feeling like you are in touch with the authentic you. You're not trying to figure things out. You're not on this never-ending healing journey, but you're actually feeling good in your mind, body, and spirit. So recognize those thoughts. Breath is also a super powerful tool, and it sounds too simple almost, but if you can practice this breath, box breathing is a great technique. Breathing in for 4 counts, holding your breath for 4 counts, breathing out for 4 counts, holding your breath there for 4 counts. Repeat this over about 2 minutes. It will actually physiologically start calming down your nervous system, start activating your vagus nerve so that you can come out of this constant place of fight or flight. So just try these things, try working with the breath, try observing the thoughts, and start noticing that gap, right? When you start not identifying with your thoughts, when you can slow those thoughts down, it gives you more control to be able to shift those thoughts earlier. Because when you're full on down a rabbit hole, sometimes the only thing you can do is ride it out, right? You cannot shift your thoughts in that moment. The best you can do is distraction, Ben & Jerry's, Netflix. But if you can catch those thoughts, those emotions at those early subtle stages, you can actually start shifting them. And know, as you shift your thoughts, you are actually physiologically rewiring your brain. All right, so those are some things that you can start doing to work with the pain and anxiety to start decreasing those symptoms. And I'd love to know what resonates with you, what questions you have. Toss those below, and I will answer those now. I'm just going to scroll up to the top for questions. Maybe. Awesome. Yeah, yes, influence the predictive coding. Exactly. So predictive coding is such a strong element because basically what it says is your brain finds what it's looking for. And if you're thinking that something is lost, right, or you're thinking that you can't find something, your brain will actually not process that information. So just realizing whenever you're in a moment that your brain is pulling on old patterns in order to anticipate what it thinks is going to happen. And what that does is it keeps us stuck in this shitty pattern of the past, where instead we can say, okay, the past was the past. I'm here in this moment. This is a different situation. And I actually have the power to harness how I want to react. Not this knee-jerk trigger. Okay, you have that moment, but then stepping back and saying, okay, how do I want to move forward in this moment based on how I feel, how I authentically want to move forward, not just based on some sort of automatic programming that's happening. Someone shares, yeah, my anxiety started before the pain and worsened as the anxiety destroyed my life. Yeah. So when you have that history of anxiety, again, that can prime your nervous system to get stuck in this pain. And for anyone who's dealing with both, this becomes a really reinforcing cycle because as you start having pain, you probably go to doctors. You probably get different health scares. Maybe you hear that maybe something's wrong in your body. And then even after you've gotten the test back and it's not, you still carry that fear of death ultimately. Because what your brain is trying to protect you from is ultimately death, whether it's emotional, psychological, physical. But when you're in that place of fear, it is the same reaction as if a lion was chasing you down the savannah, right? It's the exact same thing that's happening in your brain. All right. Any other questions coming up? Someone has a question about migraines and feeling like it can't be controlled how you think or feel. Yeah. So migraines are an interesting symptom. What I can say is that I've worked with people with migraines and they've had a very similar challenge of being like, okay, I think some of my migraines are caused by stress and those can go away. But then other migraines, I feel like they're hormonal or they're triggered by something that I'm eating and feeling like, okay, those symptoms are going to stay. So ultimately, I'm not here to convince anyone that migraines are something that it can 100% go away or not. But my experience, when you approach them from the same brain and nervous system, mind-body connection perspective, those symptoms will start to shift a lot more than you think they can until ultimately your brain and nervous system can come out of that pain cycle and allow those symptoms to subside. All right. Any other questions? How can you make saying I'm safe more believable to your brain? That is an amazing question. So when you are using any sort of affirmation, any sort of mantra, telling yourself like, I'm safe, I'm safe, I'm safe. If you don't feel safe, your brain is not going to believe it. So a great technique to be able to make that softer is adding something like, I'm safe enough in this moment, right? So if you're not feeling safe, can you at least come to the place of saying and really believing like in this moment, I am safe enough. And that will create that bridge to start creating more safety in your system and your brain and your nervous system. Your brain starts to believe you like, okay, maybe I'm not safe in general, but in this moment, I'm safe enough. That'll start calming that danger response. Yeah. Awesome question. Anything else coming up for anybody? All right. Well, thank you guys so much for being here. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out, DM me. There is a quiz to help you find what is the root of what is keeping you in either anxiety or pain, fatigue, other symptoms. You can check that out at the link in my bio. And if you're feeling like, hey, I need help to try to figure out how do I actually resolve this? How do I get back to this place of feeling good? You can also book a free consult with me. Again, the link is in my bio. I'd love to take some time to speak with you to really figure out what are those next steps for you to get back into feeling good in your body, because you deserve to feel good. All right, sending you guys so much love and light. Having an amazing rest of your week. Bye.